Welcome! This is what has been happening on the Sun today, the 24th of April 2011. Happy Easter! What a contrast from yesterday, where we had 15 C flares and 2 M flares. In the last 24 hours we've had 1 C flare. So the Sun has really quieted down. Let's see if we can see why. The simple answer is decay. We're losing 1193 over the west limb. 1197 has disappeared entirely. 1195 is stable, may have even slightly decayed, and 1196 is just a conglomeration of small spots, but is interesting for reasons that we will see later. So without the explosive growth that we've seen over the last few days and the rapid spot motions associated with it, solar activity seems to die away. So is this quietening down of the Sun universal? So let's find out by doing our usual 360-degree view of the Sun, starting with the stereo ahead spacecraft. Looking at the regions that recently rotated off the disk, we can see in the center of the field of view here are regions 1193 and 1191, and they are showing some signs of life. Even the region to its south, which was labelled region 1198, may have brightened a little in the last 24 hours. Turning next to the Solar Dynamics Observatory, we can follow the evolution of region 1195 over the last 48 hours. Initially it's changing quite rapidly, but towards the end of the sequence it seems to stabilise. Then compare the magnetic fields in region 1195 with those in the trailing region 1196. In the helium-304 images we see some very dynamic eruptions, but no major filament or prominence lifts off. I find the interesting thing in the coronal movie is that from a coronal point of view 1196 is actually brighter than 1195, which would indicate that most of the activity is originating from there. That means a region doesn't necessarily have to have the largest spots or the strongest magnetic fields to actually be the origin of some interesting activity. Lastly, we turn to the stereo behind spacecraft to see what's coming up over our east limb in the next couple of days. And if anything, those regions in the north that we were hoping would bring some new activity to this disk seem to have weakened and got more diffuse. So it looks as though at least for another 4 or 5 days we're not going to get anything significant coming over the east limb. We can see this perhaps more clearly when we look at the composite coronal image from the 3 spacecraft together. The brightest regions now seem to be on the backside of the Sun. There's still a problem with the C3 data from the LASCO coronagraph, so I'll just show a couple of repeats of the C2. In that you can see a faint CME moving off of the west limb. The auroral zone seems very quiet, and the KP index has been varying between 0 and 3. So in summary then, the sunspot number has fallen to 80, and I suspect it will fall further in the next day or two. The X-ray background has remained constant at about B3. The radio sun has actually brightened to 119 solar flux units, but that's probably in response to yesterday's flares. The solar wind speed has remained at about 400 km per second, and the KP index is rated as quiet. My forecast for the next 24 hours is that we still have a possibility of C flares, though I think the chances of M and X flares are very, very low. I think we'll still get coronal mass ejections, but the chance of getting a major geomagnetic storm is very low. So if you'd like more detail about what's going on, I can recommend these 3 sites run by Alex Young of NASA Goddard. The links to those are in the description box below, as are links to my previous versions of the Sun today, and also some videos on global warming. So that's it for today. Keep safe. Bye for now.